stones. Who's gonna throw?
Hey guys, it's me, Paranormal Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is January 31st. We made it! I think sometimes it feels like, or at least it has been for me, this month has felt like forever. It's felt like it just has gone on and 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 on. And so we made it. But for those of you who are highly sensitive, who are working on your empathic abilities, you may have noticed as Mercury was moving through and entering into Aquarius that a lot of our emotions, wanting to communicate our thoughts, right? Because Mercury is about our communication and how we make that happen. It's the closest to the sun. So after we birth something and after we get that spark of life, then it's kind of the next phase, which is that thinking and that brainstorming phase. And things feel hot, things feel short. And so we kind of almost feel a sense of anticipation. And sometimes that can cross over and feel like a sense of anxiety. I get a lot of clients that will contact me whenever Mercury is in kind of that high flux where they say, gosh, I just feel really anxious. I can't sleep. What do you recommend? So for everybody, it's different. But of course, I always recommend a little bit more of that clinical side, that mental health experience of that is a way for you to say, okay, this is how I feel in this time, and you can journal that and you can be aware of that energy and you can actually look ahead, right? Being psychic is a lot of just being observant, paying attention to our own bodies and the energies around us. And a lot of that is planetary stuff that you can actually look to the stars and you can see it happening. You can look in your calendar, you can see when the next moon phase is, you can see when the next, sextile Saturn is going to be. You can say, okay, I know that I tend to feel a little nauseous or I tend to feel a little icky whenever Jupiter is direct because it's all about abundance. And so I need to be aware of that. And that might be coming and oh shoot, it's going to be right there when my menstrual cycle starts. Okay, well, better look out on that day, man. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Is it's just good to know your own body and your own place in the universe, and astrology is a great way to do that. It doesn't always have to be wishy-washy psychic stuff. It really can be a lot of that science that helps ease our skepticism and our rational mind, which is very important, especially today, guys. So we just kind of got through the Scorpio moon. The Scorpio moon, it's funny. I always think of my dad when I think of Scorpio because he was born on November 2nd, and he's always got this air of mystery about him, a man of very little words, but he's always trying to find the answers. If somebody has an issue at work or something's broken down, you put my dad on the case and he's going to build you some crazy machine that just works perfectly. Now, he'll never patent it. He'll never even say he did it. He might scratch his little initials down on the bottom, but that's it. And he doesn't ever really explain his process, and he really doesn't work well with others per se, that he likes to be in his own space. And so he kind of personifies some of that mystery and that Scorpio energy that we see, but that Scorpio is going to have us wanting to do deep research on ourselves, wanting us to analyze our dreams and our thoughts. That Mercury, as it comes forward, it's like, you need to do this, you want to do this, you need to talk about this, you need to get this out there, you need to have this going, you need to be doing this. And so you get this anxious energy and these thoughts and these ideas, and it's almost like it's tingling throughout your body. And then the Scorpio moon, which is all about our intuition, so that's telling us how our gut is going to react. Our gut is going to say, nah, we need to maybe research this. We need to analyze. We need to ask. We need to talk with people. Let's talk with people. And so then you kind of get this push to want to be doing a certain kind of energy. But here on January 31st, Saturn is sextile Neptune. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, whenever I think of Saturn, I always kind of personify the planets. And Saturn is this big, beautiful thing. Right? But these rings and how it has sucked in its own little atmosphere, all of these little asteroids and belts of dust and ice, and how things are rotating around it. I often will think of Saturn and how it's a lot of desire. Sometimes it's everyone's favorite because of the rings. And, the deep psychologist in me wants to say, like, everyone says, if you like it, put a ring on it, but it's beautiful. And that's very much what Saturn kind of represents as far as our hopes and our dreams. Whenever I think of how it pulls on me, oftentimes Saturn, when it's direct like this and when we start seeing it in the sky and it plays with some of the other planets, of course, Neptune has its own energy. Neptune is more about practicality. It's more about analyze. So it works with that Scorpio moon, but the moon is moving out of Scorpio. The moon's always moving, right? We're getting to the new moon on the 4th. And so those kind of, our gut is going to start, our intuition is going to have a little bit of a different emotion here coming up soon. The new moon's in Aquarius. And the moon in Aquarius, in Aquarius. And so we're going to be dancing, singing, have high emotions. People are going to be feeling a sexual energy. They're going to be feeling that Venus and that attraction. But Saturn right now, today, guys, is playing on our hopes and fears. What could be the best of this situation? What could be the worst of this situation? And these kind of lingering vibes in Scorpio mixed with Neptune right there on Saturn's shoulder saying, I see you, Saturn. Think about this. Think about that. And so sometimes if you have racing thoughts, if you struggle with anxiety and this kind of a time and you're very empathetic to the energies around you, you might be feeling that anxiety, wanting to medicate it, wanting to push it away, but really that anxiety is a buzz about you're feeling a call to purpose and you're feeling a call to what it is that you want to be doing in 2019. The energies are really pulling on our inner drives to think and analyze and research, do I want to be doing this for the next 5 years? And so when you think and take that in and use that energy for deep, deep, deep self-reflection, good times for meditation, good times for napping. If you've got anxiety and you need to rest, it's a good time to segregate yourself and really think about the influences around you. Think about your hopes, your fears, your dreams, your desires. Use Neptune to be giving you this air of practicality, this yearning for analytical and really a push and an energized momentum to do that. When sometimes that's the most boring part of the dream, right? Is all the ugh. But Neptune says, no, I like that kind of stuff. And so you're going to start seeing these opportunities of people like, oh, you're interested in doing that? Oh, well, this is my cousin and they just so happen to be a millionaire and they do that. You guys should talk. Like, take this opportunity to analyze and network and validate your hopes and fears and set it up, because tomorrow, February 1st, February. Oh, I'm so excited. February is the month, of course, we've got Valentine's Day, but we also have this opportunity of a real countdown to spring. And February 1st, it's perfect timing. The planets have really worked with us in that Saturn and Neptune are going to move in just a way, that sextile energy, they're going to move. They're kind of going from 14 degrees, 55, and they're going to come, and you're going to get this positive, crazy energy that makes you want to go back and forth and brainstorm, and you're going to feel this productive drive. And tomorrow it allows you to really manifest that, meaning sit down and write it out. Sit down and get an outline. Sit down and write a business plan. Sit down and send that email. Sit down and make that call. Sit down and have that conversation with your spouse, partner, roommate, or significant other, the person that it's going to influence. Because if you manifest this, once you talk about it and write it down, now that you've done the thought and the research and the analyzing and the brain power, it has the power to manifest. February is that month where we're going to be having a lot of energy. We're going to have Mercury moving into Pisces. We're going to have a Gemini moon. Gemini moon is sensual, man, and we're going to be having that right around the 14th. Again, the planets are really giving us this, oh, you're already celebrating? Well, let me make that work for you. Like, we need to be so grateful and so thankful that these energies that are going to be working around us, and don't forget, I will share that forecast with you. We're going to have kind of Jupiter doing some certain things and the moon and Aquarius doing certain things. And we're going to have on February 3rd, Venus entering into Capricorn, which is all about that love and attraction. And so when you have these certain energies, knowing ahead of time how you feel and how your body reacts to these energies, how your sensitive bioelectric field shifts and changes when it starts to feel the push and pull of these planets in our system, because we do depend on them, we do interact with them, and we are of them. it's kind of cool. It gives you a sense of control. It eases the anxiety. It gives you an idea to journal, get to know yourself on a much deeper level, but also on a kind of a cooler, expanded way. And for me, doing psychic work, it of course allows me to say, oh my gosh, this is the universe's input. Being aware of how Mother Earth is shifting and how we, these little organisms that depend on her, and how she reacts with the planets around her, her neighbors, all of this really kind of sets up the environment for how is the environment going to be? Is it going to be a shitstorm? Is it going to be calm? Is everyone going to be at each other's throats? Is it going to be a sensual time? Being able to kind of have a generalized idea of what the environment is when you go into it, it eases that anxiety. It gives you this idea of how to prepare and say, okay, you know what? That's going to fall on a full moon. That's going to be a full moon in Gemini. Let's do this rather than this. Rather than go zip lining, let's do a dance. Like, it's going to allow you to know how to maneuver, how to do well in a social situation, how to work well with your relationships, with your children, with your partners, and with yourselves. So that's why I encourage all of my clients to utilize astrology and to just kind of be aware what's going on, right? But I did pull a card this morning in my meditation. I pulled 2 cards because lately on my social media, especially on Facebook, is where I predominantly do my live mini readings. If you sign up there, follow me at the Paranormal Sarah. You can get notifications and you can be a part of my live readings, because sometimes I'll have people like, man, I really want a reading, or they want to watch what the process looks like before they commit to buying a reading or being a part of one of my intimate classes. So that's what allows you to do that. You can join me on social media. You can join me on Facebook, and you can see my live mini readings. And this month I've been pulling 2. I've been pulling from my Susan Boulay deck, which I think right now it's a reminder that we are in relation to nature, that whereas we're inside, it's warm, bring your pets inside. Mother Nature, all of these animals are out there dealing with this. And they are in the thick of it. And so I want to kind of pull to the animals. And Susan Boulay is a very, very, very popular, well-known Native American illustrator and artist. She passed away in late 1990s. I think it was 97. But her deck, I love her animal spirit deck. You can find it online. And I pulled an animal from there, and it's funny because this animal's kind of been haunting me. I've been seeing it everywhere. There's a little guy up at the antique store I want to buy. There's just all these little, like, Nat Geo just happens to be doing a special on this animal. I go on Craigslist that somebody's selling this animal. I go and talk to someone says, have you thought about getting this animal? Like, it's just there, it seems to be everywhere. And so when I shuffled my deck and I pulled the card, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. No worries, okay. And then I shuffle my deck that's kind of an heir to Madame Lenormand, the French alchemist who created her own Petit de Jeu deck that I have used in the past and I love. It's a part of my collection, but I went through a playing deck, kind of like what my grandma and I would do, and I illustrated on each card what it kind of meant to me. And so I use that deck a lot, and I have a few favorite cards in that deck. If you follow me online, you know some of those already because woo! And so I'm laughing at the animal totem, and I go and I pull from this deck, and I pull one of my all-time favorite cards, which I think when doing this forecast reading and talking about please, please, please be aware of the planets. Please, please, please be aware of your tribe and who you are networking with and who your pod is and and all that stuff. See who you're growing with, because that matters. And so when I pulled this card, I smiled because this is how the universe works with me. So without further ado, the card I pulled from the Susan Boulay deck was the ram, which is a symbol of sacrifice and growth and divine life, right? If you just recently watched History Channel's Vikings, then you're kind of familiar with how often this is that sacred animal that you use in ritual slaughter. The ram's death is not only an offering, but it's kind of a precursor to rebirth and renewal. And for example, when the Nords would be going into new land, and when you spike new land and you reach out to the dirt and you decide this is where you're going to plow, and this is where you're going to kind of sow your family roots, that you take a sacred ram and you sprinkle the blood on the land. So it's kind of a symbol of renewal and rebirth. Very, very sacred. New beginnings. Life reflected. It's actually associated with the astrological sign Aries, obviously, because of the goat, but mostly because of spring. So here we are talking about, gosh dang it, February, tomorrow, the countdown really to spring. And this card, Susan Boulay says, she was inspired by the Odyssey, the hero Odysseus, and how he narrowly escapes from the Cyclops' cave by attaching to the underbelly of the ram and hiding from the Cyclops' view as he scurries out of the cave and down the mountain. Love that book, by the way. I think that's a really great book if you're looking for a good read as we prepare for spring and are snowed in. But this painting is the ram holding a branch. Don't know if you can see that. It's a reference to the universal tree of life, the woolly white ram being honored. The Kalmuk people of Mongolia would consecrate the white ram from their flock, giving it the ram of heaven. And that's the ram that they never shorn. So she has a lot of kind of symbols here of the sacrifice, the blessing, the growth, and the symbol of divine life. Spring, man! Lord knows we need it, and we want it, and we're excited. But of course, Susan never neglects to put some of the very important symbols. The moon is in there twice. Please, please, please be aware of the moon, and not just this new moon in Aquarius on the 4th, but then as it comes under a Gemini moon and we start to talk more about our love, talk more about sensuality, and move into the full moon later, that's going to be a very big awareness, a milestone to your placement on manifesting your goals. How are you doing in this rebirth? How are you doing with shedding yourself and preparing for spring? And then I pulled to the Madame Lenormand deck that I made, my handwritten deck on just a playing card deck. And so for people who join me in my one-on-one intuitive classes, sometimes they want to learn how to do tarot card readings. It's a very, very deep psychological process, I think, not just spiritual, but also about interpretation of energy and what that energy already means to you. So you kind of have to go with how you adapt to the cards and what the cards are telling you, and if it's your deck, how you feel about that. The more you use it, the more you grow together. And none other than the Joker. I always keep the Jokers in my deck. I have always had a fondness for that archetype, the archetype that does not follow the rules, the wild card, the archetype that is always going to do the least expected, is always going to err to the side of chaos, and is the rule breaker, because that element absolutely exists in Mother Nature. The finger of God, the tornado that wipes out things, and you have to be able to work with this energy. So I always keep it in my deck. And there's two Jokers, of course, and one of them I have is more of an identity, and this one is more of the environment. So that's why I laughed, is because we're talking about how we are doing in place, in and on Earth, in our bodies and around others, within the galaxy. And this Joker says, man, you know the thing about chaos? It's always fair. And there is something to be said about that. And most importantly, one of the things that I love that the Joker said, he's deeply emotional character, a deeply emotional archetype, the wild card, why it breaks rules and why things deviate from the norm. You were there, but you never laughed. So, were you really there? We find ourselves after 2018, the year of the culling, as I call it, now in a year of manifestation. Now in 2019, looking at a lot of opportunities, looking realistically, looking analytically, using Neptune right now and saying, yeah, I've got debt or I've got this and this is real. But also using the energies to say, but I don't think I want to do this for the next 5 years. And if I'm thinking realistically, this isn't what my soul needs, and this isn't going to work for what I want and what I envision for me and my family. So a lot of people are having major life changes. They found through 2018, the people that passed away, a lot of loved ones passed away. People that were close to suicide, overdosing, really struggling, passed away. 2019, people are asking for help. The people who made it, the survivors. So you're going to notice people having loved ones moved in with them. They're renovating their house, their space. They are helping others and helping themselves to help others, and kind of seeing things in a 5-year plan, which is interesting, and that's something to the planets too. That's not a coincidence. But I hope you guys, I don't want to make this too long, so I want to just jump off here. I wanted to post this video because this forecast is so important for so many of my students, my clients that join me, and they do keep journals. They're actively pursuing how to fine-tune their intuition. Knowing yourself, know thyself, like all the religions and cultures kind of preach that affirmation, that motto, and that mantra. And as simple as it is, it takes work. And so one of the easiest ways to do that and to know thyself is to just use what is around you. Take no more than a piece of paper and a pencil after you've watched this video and write down some of your notes about how you feel. Tomorrow, as Saturn and Neptune really work together, see how you feel. Do you feel more productive? Do you feel the vision of your dream and the ability to manifest it coming a little easier? Or maybe you don't. On February 3rd, as Venus enters Capricorn, and on the 4th, when we have a new moon in Aquarius, think about how those are going to shift for you. Do you feel a new moon, which allows us to be vulnerable, a new moon, which is dark? There's a lot of darkness, so people go inside. They're very introspective. They try not to be in a vulnerable position. And Aquarius are going to be high emotions, high alert, high depression, high anxiety even. We're just going to be feeling more about things. So let's prepare here in the next few days as we go into that new moon and find ourselves in a place of deep introspection, to be doing it with a calm mind, with a sense of peace, and also with a sense of excitement that so much opportunity is on the horizon for February and the rest of 2019, and that if you're watching this, you're already on your way to being prepared. And if you subscribe and continue to watch the forecast, and maybe reach out, maybe you're interested in a personal reading, maybe you're interested in joining in on my personal classes, maybe you're interested in joining me and some of my paranormal pals on an investigation or spiritual retreat, then you're going to need to subscribe to my newsletter, follow, subscribe here on YouTube, and also just kind of stay in touch on social media. On Instagram, I post a lot of my, poetry and my photography, but also the behind the scenes of my going into spiritual cases, going into deep seeds of thought, being aware on a little bit deeper level of our place in the universe. It's a great place for me to network with other witches that I love to follow. I have a few of my voodoo friends, Bahati Life. She's just recently met up with a few other individuals who you'll see on Vimeo as a representation of the spiritual alternate lifestyle, and just some really kind of neat people within our tribe that are growing, doing things in their own realm, expanding their own universe. And so if you're interested in joining us there, that's at Paranormal Sarah, and I do hope to see you. So without further ado, guys, I hope to see you later tonight on Facebook for our live free mini readings. Maybe you want to contact me directly, email me. I do hope to see you because, guys, connecting with you is what it's all about. Being able to fine-tune my own intuition. It's really about empathizing and connecting with others. So I hope that you'll take this opportunity to reach out to those around you. Also, in this cold, cold weather, check on those who you care about. Check on loved ones, neighbors, animals. Just make sure everyone is surviving. And gosh dang it, tomorrow's February, and I couldn't be more excited. So you guys, I will talk with you then, and I hope you have a good end of your January 2019.